Hello everyone. Today we're going to learn how to fill up the new IPCRF tool for school year 2020-2021. And not only that, we are also going to add additional references materials. We have put it together for you to be aware of all these things before you fill up your own IPCRF for the school year that we just had. So this resource material is actually nothing new. Actually, it's just a collection of all the important things you need to know once you fill up your E-IPCRF tool. Okay, so go ahead. Let's actually go first to the legal basis of this official E-IPCRF tool, right? So it's actually based on the memorandum issued by Undersecretary Jesus L.R. Mateo, Undersecretary for Planning and Human Resource and Organizational Development. So the highlight here is that you can actually download all the materials here using the bit.ly /RPMS PPST 2020-2021 link. So I will post this one in the video description for you to have complete access in everything they are actually giving out. And I would just like to remind you that this memorandum is actually telling us that we should not use no other e-tools aside from the ones that is officially given by this memorandum. So tools that are unauthorized versions of the 2020-2021 should not be the ones that we'll be using. So we are only going to use this one. And this is the official tool. So go ahead and have a copy of this one. Okay, so the question now is, what IPCRF tool am I going to use? So if you are a teacher 1 to 3, then you need to use the IPCRF for proficient teachers. Okay, and if you are a master teacher 1 to 4 or special education, all the things mentioned here, you're going to use the RPMS tool, IPCRF for highly proficient teachers. But the wonderful thing about the tool is that if you look at here, when you start, you need to enable editing and enable macros. So as you can see here, there's a security warning. Macros has been disabled, but you want to enable this content. Simply because macros are sometimes the format of viruses. So that's why automatically it is being disabled. So we are confident in this. This is from the central office. So we're going to enable content so that the macros will work, right? So as you can see here, this is the for proficient teacher tool. But if you right here in the position, and if you're a master teacher, you might just go ahead and click master teacher 2 or 1. Then as you can see, there's a change of color here. So you are now using the tool for highly proficient teachers. So it's just the same tool, same Excel sheet for you to be used for everyone. Okay. So if you're teacher 1, we just use teacher 1 or 3, because it's the majority of those who need to actually use this one. Okay, but it's actually for master teachers is still the same. Okay, so as you can see here, we'll just have this quick. Every time you hover your mouse, the e-tool will actually tell you the exact name format that you need to write here. So I'm going to write here De La Cruz, and it needs to be all caps. So just press on the all caps or the shift, comma, and then Juan, and then P. Okay, that's your name. Employee ID, just right there. You are free to type your employee ID. Right, so employment status. Take note there's a drop-down menu here, so you may go ahead and do that. Let's say you are regular permanent, and then the age is actually ranges. So 31 to how old are you? It's up to you. Then take note there is a drop-down menu for almost all of those. If you don't have a drop-down menu, that means you need to enter. And we have a drop-down menu here, but no matter how I click on it, there's nothing that will come out. Right, so the reason behind it is that you need to start with this curricular classification that you have here. So you have here, you can choose kinder to grade 6. And then if you check here again, you will see that it will be populated already. So you can choose elementary if you like. Okay, and then you can choose grade 1. Okay, if you belong to grade 1, and then you can choose the grade level that you're teaching. If you belong to multiple levels or multi-grade, you can choose multi-grade if you like. All right, so you can also choose the subject that you're currently teaching. So you may choose science, and now you may proceed to the number of years in teaching. So as you can see here, you have here 4 to 10 years. Then highest degree obtained. This is a little bit confusing. When you say obtained, it means you already have it. So they say, for example, you have already 18 units in your master's degree. You cannot say that you have already obtained a master's degree. So you just indicate bachelor's degree and then indicate here you have 18 masteral units. You just have to indicate it there. Then area of specialization, then you may type here your major. You just choose among this area of specialization. Then for rater, it's formatted the same way with the name of the employee. So all caps, so start with the family name. So you may write here, let's say for example, Rizal, Jose, P. And the position, there's a drop-down menu here. So just choose the appropriate position. And then you can have the date of review. So the date of review is actually based on the time of, or the date wherein you and the rater and the ratee has agreed and checked on the MOV. So go ahead and write that down. It could be around July of this year. Okay, 07/11. Okay. All right, so the region here is quite easy. You just have to write here the region. Okay, so what region do you belong? Okay, and the division office, and then the district, you need to type it there. Then the school ID, you need to type here the exact school ID. It will not tell you. It will tell you if it doesn't match the format. So please type it correctly, around 6 digits. And then the school name is, type in the name correctly because this will be reflected in the form. So go ahead and type it. Then the school type is whether it's urban or rural. Then you have the school size here depending on the number of teachers and the number of learners that you have. Right, so we have already completed the upper portion. We will now proceed to looking at the different ratings that we have here. So before we fill this up, it's very important for us to be aware that the person who will be doing this is the rater. So the rater is going to place here the rating based on the evidences that you have provided. So we need to be aware of the guidelines first before we fill this up. And we need to have a very concrete basis of whatever we will write here. In the case of the COT, we need to base it on the ratings of the raters that are encoded in their document of the COT. Okay, so for example, for objective 1, 5, and 7, these are the only ones observable using COT. But take note, there are a lot of indicators like this one, all this objective 2, 3, 4, 6, and 8, which are actually classroom observable but doesn't require the COT. Instead, they actually require all the necessary documents which can be found in the classroom, and these are not observed using the COT. That's why you have to rate it these objectives here. Okay, so that is the basic concept that we need to be aware of. In addition, when we go here, let's talk about that later on. What is our basis of putting our scores can be found using this PowerPoint presentation that is found in our video description down below. So just take note that we need to be aware of this rubrics here. I have placed it here for you. Let's say, for example, for objective 1. Okay, for objective 1, as you can see, if you wanted to really measure it properly, you should base it on the COT because this is classroom observable and using the COT. But take note in take note that in objective 2, you need to measure it using the MOVs they have attached. So as a rater, you need to analyze all those MOVs that they have attached. Look at the activity sheets, look at their lesson plan, look at their WHLP, their video lesson, their audio lesson, and other learning materials are placed here, and try to see if they have ensured the positive use of ICT to facilitate the teaching and learning process. And under quality, you need to be aware, since we are only rating this one under quality. Okay, when are you going to rate them 5? It is when you observe all their MOVs, it is telling you that they have redefined and transformed the learning experiences, and they had documented properly and consistently using any referencing style as shown in their submitted learning material. If that's the case and all the conditions stated here are true, then you go ahead and rate them outstanding. But if these are the things that you can see here in their MOVs, then go ahead and rate them 4. Well, there's a level of subjectivity here because you need to really identify. But if you look at the bold words here, you need to define them properly. Understand how they are stated here. You need to understand how they are rated here. And you need to actually see the descriptors if it really fits the MOVs that they have attached. So go ahead and do that always when you are the rater. Right? So we have here also for the master teachers. As you can see, instead of really just ensuring the positive use, then you have promoted the effective strategies. So on and so forth. For all the objectives here, you need to follow all these rubrics. So if you're the rater, you look at this one first, and you should have an objective way of really doing your ratings. So here, for COT, it's not a problem because you just have to write down exactly how they are rated. So let's say, for example, it's 7, and here it's 5, and then you have 6 here. So just go ahead and do that, and then you can have here the year already. Okay, it's 2020 09 and then 10, and you need to follow that format. And then you go ahead and type in the password. Okay, it should be consistent for both because you're just confirming the password, right? So as you can see, this has turned white. So you can have another subject here, right? So you have here another rating, okay, based on their COT. So there are certain things that you need to take note for COT too. Let's say, for example, the excuse is valid and they have no COT2. So what are you going to do? There are only 3 possible scenarios as mentioned. The first scenario is that both the teacher has actually no COT for a valid reason. So if that's the case, then choose here no second CO with valid reason. So automatically, you cannot fill up already here all the ratings, but you can see automatically it will be computed as if both of them are equivalent. But if the reason is not valid, then give the teacher the lowest score. Okay, 3 is the lowest score, right? But if the teacher has a COT2, then go ahead and encode the actual rating. Okay, so that is what you're going to do here, right? And then you're going to write here, okay, 3. And then write the exact date that you have actually done the observation. Okay, so then lock the COT and input your password. Right, so here we have the IPCRF numerical ratings, and as mentioned, you need to use the rubrics. So as raters, you need to be very objective in rating your teacher. Obviously, you need to be aware. You need to put the rubrics in your side, or just download it here in our channel, the rubrics that are compiled for you, okay, in the PowerPoint presentation. So I can see here, it says here, it's a rating from 1 to 5. So 4, 3, depending on the MOVs being shown and presented to you. Do not rate this one if you don't have any MOVs. Okay, please do. Okay. All right. So it's not the teacher who will rate this one. It's the rater. All right. So we have here the name format. Who will be your approving authority? So this is another question we need to be aware of. So I have put here who will be our approving authority. So I'll just go directly to the teachers. So if you're a teacher and you have no master teacher or head teacher or assistant principal in your school, then you go ahead and have your principal. This is usually true for small schools. So it says here, your rater should be the school head and the principal. It's not the guidance counselor, please. So take note of this, okay? Because there are times wherein the guidance counselor is asked to be the rater. It's not that way. It's not stated here. So it's the principal and school head, and your approving authority for small and medium division is the superintendent. For large and very large division is the assistant superintendent. And take note, if you have a master teacher in your school or a head teacher or assistant principal, then that person will be your rater. And the approving authority is the principal or the school head. But there is a caveat on this. Your superintendent or your division office might require you to have the signature of the superintendent or any third level official in this case, or any assistant or the assistant superintendent, because there are times that the CSC will actually require the signature of the division office just to ensure the validity of the IPCRF. This is usually true when you need to submit your IPCRF for promotion or for reclassification. So just take note of that. Okay, so if you are done with this, then we actually write here, all caps, remember, Dil Pilar, 1, and then we're going to write the middle initial, and we have a drop-down menu here for our approving authority. So let's just say, for example, the school's division superintendent. If you're done with that, you can click on finalize part 1, and then you need to input your password again. All right, so in this case, the data has been saved. You can see that you have a red. That means that this has already been transferred to all the parts that you can see here. As you can see, if you want to check on this, these are already populated. So let's go back to encoding and finish part 2. This time, as you can see, part 2 shall be accomplished by the ratee after the rater accomplishes part 1. So part 1 is for the ratee. Part 2 is for reflection for the ratee. So as you can see, if this competency is demonstrated during the performance cycle for you, then go ahead and check it. If you haven't demonstrated that one, do not check it. Okay, so go ahead and check. Do not just check everything. Just please read before you check. Okay, so I'm going to fill this up. I'm going to fill all of this first. Okay, so if you're done with that, go ahead and finalize part 2. And this time you have to create a new password because you are now the ratee. Okay, so just input your password. Right. So we have here, we'll wait for it to become red. As you can see, it's already red. It says here you can now check on, it's already transferred here. So as you can see in part 2, it's already populated. You don't have to do anything to fill it up. Okay, part 1 and part 2. Now, you need to take a look at this because this is your basis in filling up part 4. But the beauty of this tool is that you have a summary here. Part 3 is like a summary. Okay, you can see here which part or dimension or a part of the behavioral objectives are you weak and you are or strong. As you can see, outstanding here in objective 7, only satisfactory for objective 8 and objective 3. So these are the dimensions that you are weak. Okay, so this will be very useful when you are filling up the part 4 or the development plans. Okay, so this is accomplished during phase 1, planning commitment based on the results of the ESAT, and phase 2, performance monitoring and coaching based on the agreements and mid-year review, and phase 4, performance rewarding based on the actual results of the IPCRF. So here we are already here in phase 4 and we need to actually fill this up. For me, this is the most important part of the IPCRF. You are looking at your current practices because in depth ed, we want all teachers to be reflective. We want to have that culture of continuous improvement. So when you look at this one, we would want you to really revisit all your behavioral competencies or core behavioral, or we actually call it as functional competencies. Okay, and what are your strengths? Where are you strong? Here, I am strong here in objective 7 and 10, hypothetically based on the data we have gathered. So may this be a point of reflection for all of us. Where do you need to develop? Okay, so you look at it again and then look at which among the dimensions here are you weak. Okay, and also check on your core behavioral, okay, competencies. So you can see I am 2 here in service orientation. Okay, I'm very weak at that. I'm strong in terms of innovation and self-management. So in that particular dimension, you need to write down your developmental needs and then create a learning objective. How would I solve those problems, those developmental needs that I have? Okay, or how would I maintain the strengths that I have? Should I share it? Should I be more consistent with it? Okay, so just write there your learning objectives. And when you say learning objectives, they should be SMART as much as possible. Then what intervention are you planning to do? Okay, so write it down there. And what is your timeline? You should have a deadline. And you wanted to show this one to your rater that you are planning to improving yourself. Okay, and then what resources do you need in order for you to really perform what you want to do? Okay, so all of this you need to fill up. You can have a feedback here written by the rater as to your developmental plans. Okay, and then it should be signed by the ratee, rater, approving authority, signifying that you understand each other, that you are accountable of everything you have mentioned here. So if you're done dealing with that, okay, writing all those, you can click on finalize part 4, and then you need to write down your password. Okay, so if you're done with that, right, so it has been locked and finalized. Right, so if you're done with that, this is actually a form of macros. We are automatically doing everything in a way that is programmed, okay, pre-specified already. So you can have print parts 1 to 4, but make sure that the printer that you have is that will work is the default printer that you'll be using. Okay, so make sure that it's already set up here to be the default printer that you need to do. Okay, let's try this one. Okay, this one is Adobe PDF. It will only print the ones that will in a PDF format. It's not really an actual printer because I don't have a printer here. Okay, so we're going to try to print it. All right, so as you can see, it's printing using Adobe PDF. This will create PDF files for me. Okay, so it's actually different from every printer or setup that you have. You have printing not responding as of the moment. So if that happens, you can actually redo it again or just wait for the macros to work. Okay, so this is sometimes the problem with macros because it's not compatible to some of the computers. So you just have to work on that. So if it doesn't work, just go ahead and click Control P for each of the sheet, and you will have a copy of that. And you need to actually forward this one to, okay, so whatever you have here, there's a last instruction here. When all parts of the IPCRF are accomplished, ratee must submit the file copy of his or her IPCRF electronic form to the department head or school head for school-wide consolidation. He or she must print all pages of this form and submit to the personnel division of the school to be attached to his or her 201 personnel file. So I hope this actually helps, and good luck to your to actually doing this on your own. Just go ahead and slow down the video, and for more learnings here in our channel, go ahead and subscribe, hit the ring button, and I'll see you in the next upcoming videos for more learning with DocLab. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.